When I was watching this documentary, I thought it was in the beginning. I thought it was going to be a lot more towards about like the attacks in 9/11 themselves, instead of more like the justification of why they attacked. Um, I like from what I gathered from the documentary is I found like the main way people are radicalized is through like interpretation. They read the Quran and they see something a certain way compared to other people. It's the same thing with like there's like Christians who are very devout who take like no drinking, no tattoos. I believe it's like the same thing, just getting radicalized. Like one important aspect is when they talked about how death was a good thing. Like if you died in the name of Allah, you were like going to paradise with the 72 virgins. Like they said death was a good thing. And then on top of that, allowing suicide, like starting the suicide bombing, because at first they talked about how it was very like they were 50-50 on it, like hey, this isn't a good thing, like you don't want to kill yourself. But then the radicalized started interpreting as you're doing this for a law, like it's not like you're just killing yourself because you're depressed or sad, or just like you're doing this for your God and like making it better, like make the world a better place for him. And like just more interpretation is like they start talking about how you are to terrorize God's enemies. Like he the Quran says to if you are getting attacked, to fight. Like it's they aren't saying peace, it's like fight back. And they view themselves as getting attacked by American nationalists, and just like not even just Americans, just like people in general, like in France, of like the racism and just the things they had to deal with back home. Um, Another thing I found really interesting is how they justified killing innocent civilians. At first, they said, I remember someone saying, killing an innocent civilian is a tragedy and not helping for God or Allah. But then they turned it around as these civilians pay taxes for the military, so they're supporting the military that is oppressing them. And I thought that was a really weird interpretation and like how they justified what they're doing. And I think that's what makes them even more radicalized and how they became radicalized. Um, with Zachariah himself and like how he became radicalized, I from what I noticed is like a lot of just like in the childhood stuff too, like growing up in, I know he was young when this was going on, but like an abusive father in the home, and then after that, like being alienized in school, bullied, called names, like racism, like that made him. I feel like that made him want to belong to something. Like they said, he was never very religious up until he was a young adult, and then he finally got into it. And I think that bullying and then the racism, and then finding that group allowed him to like come in and like find something to fight for. And then just the luck of like meeting like more and more radicalized people who are promising them good things, like if you die you get 72 virgins. Like they make bad things and switch it to make them good. And like I think that was like the main takeaway from the documentary, is how they justified everything they were doing, and that is how people like became radicalized.